of the NA players, probably 80% of the guys on this bracket are actually below the age of 21.
Yeah, so it actually doesn't matter what you eat when you're that young.
For the most part. kind of.
Yeah. I mean, if you're eating battery acid, it probably won't go well for you, but if it's just like, if it's generally food, you'll be okay.
Yeah, Tide Pods, not so much. It's a no-no, guys.
2018. What a year.
Yeah. All right, it's a brand new best of 3, and we're starting off with game 1. The bottom right, as the red Protoss, he is Roots puCK.
Certainly is. In the top left, the Pizza Pie bi-weekly god himself. This is Starkiller. Now, as much as this guy's been talked up as a guy that wins a lot of pizzas, being up against someone like puCK, I would say that he's in a bit of a rough spot. puCK is extremely powerful. I'd say that probably... I don't know what puCK's best matchup is right now, but it seemed like, for a lot of these higher-level players in America, their versus Zergs were generally pretty good because of the amount of Zergs that they had to play in tournaments and also in ladder. So, I'm kind of assuming it's quite good at the moment.
Yeah. This is how it works, right? It's just like how many of X race is on that ladder? Go to Korea, you're gonna get better versus Terran. Almost for
Europe,
sure.
NA, Zerg.
Yep. But puCK, regardless, I don't know his exact win rates or how comfortable he's feeling versus individual races. He does stream and he does talk about that stuff, so I'm sure other people out there know more than me. What I know about him is that he just always has his own unique style. He's been very open about how he likes when games get scrappy and a little bit weird. Not that he has like super weird builds or compositions like Mass Sentry or something like that, right? But he does like when things get scrappier. If there's an option to go for a base race, he'll go for the base race, even when the maybe technically correct play was to recall back home and not make things weird. So, and I know Starkiller, from what I remember of casting him, I don't cast him that often, but like I remember, mutas pop up in my mind, which if you are a Zerg player that likes mutas, you will force mutas, even if the opponent goes for a Stargate, which, right, most Protosses do, but even if they went for like a double Stargate, you can try and force the issue. So I don't know how Starkiller's playing nowadays, but it's just something to think about. I think we're going to see at least one base race in this series.
Yeah, I was going to say that when you are that guy that likes to go for mutas, it feels like they're going to be base races more than not. If you go for like more than half a dozen mutas, it gets base racy. You can't really stand and fight with an army like that. Mulisks are quite flimsy, but they can kill a ton of probes.
Yeah. But whether Starkiller goes mutas, which maybe just goes like the normal DVP stuff, or puCK is just gonna try and initiate that type of play. I guess when I was talking about his weird compositions, I think he's like one of the only people who does sometimes bring out Mass Stalker versus Zerg still. Again, people will update on a stream and know better, but I remember like that composition has really died off as far as his typical way to go. But yeah, I feel like I've seen puCK most recently do it as anyone that I can think of. But again, that's like Montreal or Valencia or something like that. These two adepts trying to get damage done. Not a lot though.
Yeah, not a ton. It's actually a pretty nice defense there from Starkiller. Keeping most of his workers alive. Making a few more lings, maybe thinking that the pressure is going to have some kind of follow-up here, or maybe going to go across the map, but generally you would expect that to be drones. And +1 carapace.
Yeah, carapace, not melee. That's really weird. It's like a ZVZ build.
Yeah, it's a little weird. You do expect +1 attack. I mean, it's cheaper, it helps you a lot versus the gateway units. What does carapace do? I guess it makes the queens a little stronger.
It changes the kill dynamic of zealots, which people don't warp in anymore. Like, that's all about depth. So I'm not really sure, to be honest. Like, +1 melee for all the reasons you listed. Eventually you get +2, and it really nicely pairs up with Baneling run buys and Baneling drops, which can be really fun. But the carapace is like, and it's extra weird if you're gonna go for Banelings, because Banelings don't need carapace. Like, they're either gonna explode on something or they're not, is kind of the way you look at them. Yeah. Very rarely do you like get that one hit that doesn't, go through or something.
That's and it kind of looks like Starkiller wants to bust here with that Baneling nest coming down. I mean, it could be something that he doesn't utilize, but it feels like he's going to. There's no pylons as part of the wall. I mean, as long as puCK doesn't get a sentry, which he's kind of hoping for, maybe he can bust this wall in. He's got some lings on the left-hand side sort of rotating around. Yeah, there's that. So he's going to try and bust here. I mean, it could work. Could work. You need to have a flood of lings behind it, though.
Yeah, that's always a thing about baneling busts, especially if you're already using so many lings on banelings, because you have to bust very like durable structures. You're not gonna have a lot of lings to flood in through, and that's usually what really ends the game, is just the overwhelming amount. But yeah, I don't know about the +1 Carapace. I still do believe a baneling bust can work. Like, I would never doubt that. And puCK is currently without a lot of units. His third Nexus, it'd actually be nice for Starkiller to show the banelings to the third Nexus, but of course he goes for the Zealot.
And he comes, and puCK's actually in a world of trouble here. A lot of probes, more than a dozen of them going down. That's an entire mineral line's worth of probe saturation gone down here. And there are still banelings remaining. puCK recalls these oracles the other side of the map, which we deal with this, but oh my god! Miscontrols these probes for a second there, and now he's lost 40, and Starkiller gets game 1 with a baneling bust that he absolutely surprised puCK with. He was not ready for that.
Yeah, it was an oddly timed one. You know, we see usually 2, maybe the third is down, but it's like really not saturated type baneling busts that hit the natural long before the third base is up, even with the fastest third bases that Protoss can really get. So that was, I mean, it was almost more good than usual because it was so oddly timed. But that +1 Carapace still is like, I guess I should just ask him about it. I don't really know why that helps. Does it have a kill count change for Adepts? I didn't think it did. Otherwise, you think you'd see it more often. I don't know, man.
Yeah, what is the? I mean, the Carapace makes the Lings a little more. Does it help them against? It wouldn't help them against Oracles because that's a spell.
Yeah, no, that's...
I guess so. It would only help them against Gateway units, which there weren't any.
Which there'd be Adepts and Sentries, and like, who cares about kill shots for Sentries? And
I actually can't even theoretically think of why Carapace would be better than melee. But anyway, he's a much better player than me, so I'll just assume that I'll assume that he's a genius. That's what I'll do.
There you go. It's a nice assumption. It's nice of you to make.
I like to. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. You know me. I'm an optimist, CG. Whenever I see you or my good friend Fear Dragon being a little bit of a neggy Nancy, I'm like, come on, guys.
It's true.
You know.
He's
try
the
to
optimistic glue.
upside down, you know. I'm not
Hold us all together.
That's right.
So, regardless of however the timing was, or the spell, or the upgrade that was used, a baneling bust is a cheeky little way to get a victory. It is, you know, cheesy. I guess we're talking about cheese, and he is the pizza pie master, so it all makes sense. But do you actually get a second opportunity to do that? Or is, you know, suddenly the opportunity gone because puCK... I mean, it really is almost sometimes it's as simple as leaving an Oracle back at your natural and patrolling an area where they would be running in with banelings. That's sometimes all you have to do. Which puCK was not. He was being aggressive with his Oracles on the side of the map. So you shouldn't be able to get another baneling bust in. So does Starkiller have a macro chance against puCK? I think he does, actually. I think that was just a really strong start.
Yeah. It's a very good way to build confidence against someone like puCK, is to already be a map against them with a very aggressive opening. And then maybe, you know, you feel a little bit free. Even though it's a best of 3, you feel a little bit free and easy to try and maybe make a back row game in game 2, which happens sometimes. I mean, in a best of 5, if you're up 2-0, that's when you start to get a little weird in game 3, right? But best of 3 is a little... You'd much rather have a 2-0 than make it a tied series. Then game 3 is a little stressful.
Yeah, and while we always should bring up there's a lower bracket sub-elimination today, I mean, kudos to Korean, or to Americans and Europeans, because they do actually usually play out their lower bracket. But when the bracket is this large, don't be surprised if even someone who has a, you know, 50% chance of getting through is just like, nope. Maybe one who has like an 80% chance of getting through, like, nope, I'll try again tomorrow, or whenever the third qualifier is. Like, it's just, it is a slog down there, and there's still a lot of good players that get dropped down as well. So the reason I specified the 2 regions that I did, though, is because the Koreans are most notorious for even being a small lower bracket, unless it's something really, really big, like an IAM qualifier. But they have definitely been known for just being like, nah. But you only have to play like one series and you'll qualify. Nah, I don't really. I'll just go away. Like, they're so notorious for it. It's hilarious. Anyways, we'll probably see whoever loses here continue on for a while longer. But this stupid sound disabled. This series, this qualifier is going to easily go into, I don't know, 2 in the morning for me. So that's another 4 hours. That's probably why Wardy went ahead and rated us right there. Thank you, Wardy.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. That's a short stream for him, but Wardy's been putting in a ton of hours lately. Actually, his stream is really blowing up. Like, and you as well. Like, it just seems like there was like a lack of StarCraft for a little bit, and now we're just oversaturated with the amount of StarCraft happening with IEM and, you know, Lima League's blowing up, Ting Open's blowing up, the WCS has just started today. Well, I actually started yesterday with China, but today banning. Anyway, in the bottom right here, this is starkiller. Going for a pull first with the gas.
It was pool hatch gas. So
Yes.
not like it's going to be like a Ling bust flood, which is a little weird to see against Protoss anyways. In the top left, who I inaccurately put up with the game, he's down 1. It is puCK.
You'd be disappointed in me if you watched the Ling League last night.
What
These 2 series where I didn't do the scores.
Oh, at all. Oh. Ooh.
Yeah, at all. It was just like 0-0.
Okay.
I'm like, whoopsie daisies, whoopsie poopsies.
Okay, then. Well, I have a serious problem with WCS overlay because you have to show the best of with the shift S instead of just being able to shift to 3 like in Game Heart, and I always disable. Yeah, exactly. But I always disable sound, which sucks. And then I have to re-enable it, and then I disable it again.
I've never done that, but I, do sometimes forget to flip nameplates or get the score wrong. So sometimes I forget that, shift 1 and control 1 do top and or bottom respectively. So sometimes I'll like give the wrong score to the other guy and then quickly give them 0, then give the other guy 0, then like the score is just bouncing back and forth before I actually get it right. And then I'm like, okay, now I can cast the game. Really makes me wish that I had like, how Fear Dragon and also Base Trade have those map intro videos.
Yeah.
Makes me kind of wish that I had those so that I had time to do all that without looking like a complete dunce.
It does help, but they also are just actually particularly good about doing it quickly. Like, I don't know, it's basically the same hotkeys as Game Heart. It's something about adding the best of and the best of 3 to I don't know, it just throws me off. So yeah, some must have, gifts.
You don't do that on Game Heart? The best of?
It's automatic to best of 3 or something like that. I forget. There's something different about it, but now I can't think of it exactly. But when it's Game Heart, I really do just... I think what it is that I can press Control Shift 3 and it'll pop up. But with Game Heart, I have to press... No, that's not what it is. I don't remember what it is. Ignore me for now. I'll think about it later.
Good talk.
Good stuff.
Good talk. We're seeing a 2-base lair and a Roach Warren here from starkiller for going the 3rd hatchery, which is quite late at this point. So he's going to try and do something on 2 bases here against puCK. He's going for a Stargate opening. Double Oracle.
Yeah, double Stargate. Okay. What's the... puCK going for double Stargate is not weird at all. It's very normal. But starkiller going for this 2-base Roach Warren lair is a little weird, even though it might turn into macro, as you see a 3rd hatchery was attempted to be taken, kind of scared of the Oracle. It just is, it's again like a ZVZ build, more so than a ZVP, even though we do see it sometimes in this matchup. Just like that +1 Carapace is more of a ZVZ thing, and I see people saying that maybe he misclicked. It's a really tough misclick, actually. C and M being pretty far away from each other, as well as the different amount of gas, so... But whatever to that. Yeah, it's as if you're gonna make a wall, but you don't have to in the ZVZ. Then you add on a layer 3rd, but you have the nice setup of defensive roaches. I mean, it works out to make you feel protected, but not against mass air units. So it doesn't work out in this specific game.
Yeah, I mean, puCK can, even though, Void Rays are technically better against Roach Ravager, they're a lot more expensive, and honestly, Oracles can do the trick as well. And he's making 2 at a time here. Going for that, the ye old mass Oracle.
I guess, so starkiller's plan might have been to all in from this anyways. You kind of build up enough minerals to get a 3rd hatchery as a Zerg player in most situations regardless. As long as you're not like on literally 20 drones. Or he might be reacting to seeing the oracles and thinking that he could go for a roach bust. But it's really complicated. Like, the amount of oracles is suddenly going to be like a, like OK 2 with their spell damage to suddenly 8 with their spell damage, and roaches will not really do the trick.
Oh boy, comes those laser beams. 1 spore is not enough here to get rid of one of the oracles, but 2 queens have died in the making of this attack, and that spore caller is also dead without getting a shot off, and these drones. I mean, there's still energy on these pulsar beams here. A 3rd spore crawler going down. Holy hell. starkiller's taking a ton of damage. He's going across the map here with these roaches. Now, is puCK actually going to be okay against the counterattack here? He might not be.
I think he's actually... So he stopped building oracles, so that puts a little bit of more of a question mark. But he does have 4 gateways at least. That's why the warpings were rather large at this point. I think he's in the right.
Yeah, I mean, the Stalkers are doing bonus damage here against these roaches, and the Oracles have cleaned up the links for the most part. He's only lost 4 probes. Starkiller just switching gears here, going for the third base instead, which puCK already has pylons to be able to warp in at. The Zealot's really slowing down this attack as well. The Oracle's out of juice for the most part. I think one of them has some juice on him. We got to do another pulsar beam, but doesn't look like he needs it. Nope. puCK with a hold here, and that's a very nice situation for the Protoss, who is up, you know, 30-odd army supply. But I got to say, like, a lot of it is in the sky, and a lot of it is energy-based, so it's a little deceiving, but still a pretty good spot for the Protoss, I'd say.
Yeah, third Nexus, and now rover production as well to make sure you don't get blindsided by roaches specifically again. Starkiller was knocked down a peg in the drones. He had to remake so many spore crawlers and did lose some to the Oracles earlier on. That while that did temporarily give him some opening to recover, it gave him the opening to make 3 spore crawlers per base as well as drone up a little bit. It's all in recovery, not actually getting ahead as he would have liked, so... puCK should be feeling very comfortable. He doesn't have the typical follow-up to double Stargate, but he also didn't go Phoenix like you usually would see either. So in this case, we're going to see a robotics bay already on the production tab. Yeah. Okay, just go to the lair.
Oh wow, he's diving to the lair here. Gets it too. Wow, holy crap. I mean, a Hydra Den's already been placed, but losing a base, lair or otherwise, is really devastating for Starkiller anyway, because his economy's already been gimped here by this this opening of puCK. And puCK doesn't actually need to make any more Oracles because they're still alive and they're still doing their job, clearly. And he's going to switch over into Colossi, which are going to be fantastic against the Hydras. So puCK in a very dominant position here. It's hard to express how far ahead he is right now.
Yeah. It's going to also be a real shock for Starkiller, I'm going to guess. I mean, it might not be the case. These guys, like in their MMRs, probably face each other rather often on ladder. So maybe he knows like puCK has some kind of weird follow-ups, but typically you would expect right into charge +1 Archon Storm with probably even double Robo Immortals, but Immortals, right? Not Colossus. So the gateways being done as they were for the defense might have already tipped Starkiller off. It was a bit of a weirder opener, but is he really going to be thinking about Colossus? I don't think so. And the unfortunate thing about Ling Baneling Colossus, or just Hydras rather, is that they go down rather fast, you know? Maybe against Immortals they can do something, but against Colossus, there's gonna be like 4 of them. Hydras won't stand up for very long, even if the Colossus are totally bare, which they won't be. There isn't a ground army ready to accompany them.
Yeah, Avila is apparently getting pretty mad, but let's concentrate on these series happening here on the stream. We've got puCK going into the double Colossi production. Is going to be pretty fantastic against what Starkiller is doing here. He's making a very light army. I don't see how... I mean, Starkiller can try and get a 4th base up and maybe slow this game way down, but puCK's been really keeping him from spiraling out of control as well, thanks to these Oracles just being active around the map as well.
Yeah.
I like it.
So hopefully Starkiller noticed that Colossus pop out with that Overlord that just died. If he was watching, he would have noticed, because otherwise he has not scouted the robotics bay. Okay, yeah, so he did notice. Was waiting on gas, unfortunately does not have a lot of it, as his 4th base was so late. His 3rd base didn't have his gas guys immediately either, I don't believe, so Aspire took up all of his gas, just about. And it's not looking so great to just instantly pop out 10 Corruptors, and even if he had the bank for that, and the economy even make a bank, it looks like puCK's going for the killer move right here, right now, and that's a good enough army that I think he will just win this game.
Yeah, a lot of force fields available in the sentries as well as Guardian Shield. He can do whatever he wants with this energy. Gonna go for Guardian Shield. These Colossi standing supreme here with that extra extended Thermalance damage. They didn't even have +1 attack. Is just about to finish during this attack, but it's just way too much Protoss in the dance floor. There's even a Colossi and 2 Stalkers that aren't even in this fight. They're watching from the other side of the rocks. So like, don't worry about it. You guys got this, right? All right, here we go. Here they come. They're like, oh no, okay, no, we'll help just to make sure. Let's tie a bow on this. Let's get it done.
And it is basically done. Starkiller might be having some false hope here because his army lasted longer than it should have. You know, 2 Colossus were not behind it, and there's no Warp Prism to continue warping in. But 3 Colossus still is going to be enough. Warpin's coming over from the other side of the map, gonna help out. He's gonna jump on top of it. But can't actually
kill anything. He's gonna try to at least. Immortals and Stalkers down here really mincing up that army with the Colossus laser beams from the back line. That's GG. puCK tying up the series 1 apiece.
I mean, made that game not exactly easy, but in terms of a very close game, we haven't really had it yet. Starkiller failing busted gate number 1, and puCK went for a surprising double Stargate Oracle. So what's the third game gonna look like?
I wonder.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting and tough to predict series so far. I mean, also when I see the robotics bay go down for puCK, I kind of just assume that it's going to be disruptors as well, because I'm still in that. I've locked away in my brain that puCK is a disruptor guy, but it seems to not be the case lately.
Yeah, he can be a disruptor guy, but McCanning is a disruptor guy. puCK's a guy that can disruptor.
Very nicely as well.
Cat cam?
The disruptors are still my favorite unit in the game. They're just really exciting, but I will admit that they don't seem super great versus like a lot of other options in the Protoss arsenal. But God, they're exciting. I love them. It's
almost shocking how going back to their quote-unquote original form, disruptors have been changed quite a bit, guys, but the form they were in before the other form they were in, yeah, that made sense. They're back to it, so they shoot after an extended time. They explode after a set amount of time. It really made them much worse. It did. In some situations, they like control a little bit better, I suppose, and you can pre-plan. But compared to what they were doing when they like came in contact with something, the micro was so much harder to pull off for the opposing player, and generally resulted in bigger kills. So I think they might just be dying out again.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. I mean, if you guys saw or played the Legacy of the Void beta, I know that Legacy of the Void actually has a lot of new fans thanks to free to play and just, growing as an esport, so getting a lot of new eyes on it. But some people out there wouldn't have seen the beta where the disruptor actually changed like half a dozen times. And I don't mean like balance tweaks. I mean like the unit actually changed half a dozen times. It used to be that the disruptor was, instead of shooting out a nova, it would just like turn into a ball of fire with a timer on it, and you'd have to micro that ball of fire in, and then when it explodes, the disruptor is just still a unit sitting in a drone line.
Yeah.
Like it was there was that format, and then there was the and then they changed that sort of disruptor around a bit, and then they realized, oh no, maybe we should make it a projectile, and they made like new graphics for it, and yeah.
It was a fun little experiment.
Legacy of the Void beta was a good time. It felt like Frontier times, like we're out in a new territory, or like we're cutting down trees, building a new town out of wood.
Yeah, it was. Any new expansion was a fun time, and even not last year's patch, but the year before that patch, the big 4.0, was it?
4.0, yeah.
Yeah, that was also kind of a fun time, as it did change things more so. And even the year before that, they almost made mech viable. I say that almost sarcastically, but I meant versus Protoss. They're trying to. That was their goal, and they didn't succeed. But anyway, so even that was kind of fun to try and push. But yeah, then things get settled again, and people find, basically the correct way to go. And I just think about all the nostalgic times when you could do kind of whatever you wanted in the Legacy of the Void beta. And the foreigners were showcasing the best games because they were the ones a little more willing to experiment.
They really were. I remember that, a +1 attack on an armor on the armory did ground and air.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's still that way in the campaign.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I always forget.
I guess you've been playing campaign lately, so you're all amongst it. That's great. Also, I have to admit, like, as the countdown, we're in the countdown. We're in the lobby right now for Game 3 between puCK and starkiller. So, guys, don't worry. We do have StarCraft on the mind here. The most angry I have ever been with StarCraft 2. The most angry I've ever been with StarCraft 2 was during the beta of Legacy of the Void, when I was up against my first. It was on Dust Towers. Like, remember that map? It was my first ever time that I saw the Pylon Overcharge Adept Rush.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Oh, I forgot about that.
I'm like, and then you fight it back barely, and then an Oracle shows up. And I'm just like, oh my God, I've never been this angry with the game before.
I kind of remember you talking about that a little bit. Like, you don't really rage very often or even make sarcastic comments that often, but you did a lot for the pylon.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, that's the thing. It's extremely rare for me to be super angry. Like, I'm a very chill guy. I don't have anger issues. Like, I don't get angry very often. So it's super rare, which is why I remember it so well, because I remember like shaking with rage. Like I was actually so angry. Anyway, let's introduce this game and our player in the far left position here of Automaton. I'm trying not to say bottom left because it's kind of bottom left, but also not really. It is Starkiller.
Oh, he's going for a proxy hatch, block hatch.
Damn.
Nice. On top right is the blue Protoss. It is puCK.
Yeah, and this is actually something I saw in Elima League. Lucira did this against MC. And Lucira MC is just a series that it was a meme in itself. But this is the hatchery block where you cancel the hatchery and then turn it into an Evo chamber and really delay the Protoss' expansion. If you guys aren't aware, the hatchery actually leaves a bit of creep behind when you cancel it. And it's usually enough surface area to get an Evo chamber to continue to build up some hit points and really slow down the Protoss' economy. But puCK is responding correctly here, getting a Zealot out first. A second gateway usually comes down as well, but he's just going for the Zealot and trying to cut corners a little bit here.
Yeah. I think that might be one of the older style ways of dealing with it. The hatchery block used to be so popular, guys. The proxy hatch also used to be so popular back with like Pro League, for instance, so like really long time ago. So this is not new, even though it's very uncommon nowadays. So you do have Protosses like puCK who've been through every single meta possible. I know exactly how many probes to pull to out DPS the building itself, as well as the possible responses to it. So one of them was definitely going for a second gateway, and then whatever units you got to pop out, you just be like, well, here, you deal with this now. And honestly, the Zerg players would have trouble with it. But then they started, I think they kind of like, it was that, pendulum shift of metas where they started to anticipate it and dealt with it really easily, and Protoss was like, oh no, I wasted so much time, and I guess we kind of settled here, because I also got to cast a couple of blocked hatchery games in the... Well, it was a North American server qualifier, but it was all the Koreans. So, like, similar to your situation. And, yeah, there was a lot of proxy hatches, actually, from a couple of different Zergs. And this was usually the response by the Protoss.
Yeah. It's a nice response here from puCK. Doesn't really slow down his Stargate at all. Like, that's still on the way. The Nexus is slowed down, but that's just really, probes and income, that sort of thing. You can still get an Oracle out. And Starkiller is getting his third base sort of in a triangle pattern here, not going for the edge of the map, which a lot of Zerg like to do. The third base here of the Zerg is like, it feels super exposed because there's just so many attack paths to it.
It's gotta be because he plans on breaking down the rocks and also mining from the gold. It's not very wise to do, but you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, Terrans do that as well. Like, you get a third base here, and then you make another CC next to it and just break down those rocks and start mining from the gold. It's actually smarter to get your base on the this side of the gold than the other side, because it's way less exposed, especially when you have a bit more creep spread.
This is one of the more clever gold bases we've had, I guess. We've had so many gold bases as people thought maybe they could be in a cool part of the game, and then they kind of proven to not be. You got people who just put them on the corners of the map and just say like, well, the game goes long enough and that's where they're going to be interesting. And you have this, which you would take the right side, but it's really exposed. But then you have the gases, which for your first 3 or 4 bases for most races is kind of important. And then you do have the kind of, if you want to be really truly clever, you can break down the rocks and build another hatchery, command center. Probably on a Nexus, haven't seen Protoss do it too often, but yeah, it can work out. But I said that, Starkiller's not breaking it down.
That is true. Pretty nice Oracle there from puCK as well, getting 4 drone kills and surviving. And it's just a single Oracle, no Phoenix in tandem, so... puCK going for a second Oracle and now a third straight afterwards, skipping the Phoenixes altogether. Which is, like, I guess not the meta in PvZ, but triple Oracle is extremely threatening, and there could always be, the chance of a second Stargate and more Oracle memes here for puCK as well. Starkiller trying to keep an eye on that with this Oracle, with his Overlord, rather.
Yeah, it is really weird that puCK refuses to go for a single Phoenix, because you do generally want that Overlord out of the equation. You don't want them to find, if you're building a third Oracle, or if you're going to double Stargate, I guess, like maybe they could send that in, right? Where the Phoenix would kill that pretty quickly. Sentries do not kill Overlords very quickly. And they wouldn't see a third Nexus without having to send links across the map, which is a given, okay, sure, but it's just the point is you usually take that almost freebie 100 minerals, most likely 200 to 300 minerals, because the Phoenix, like a Viking, eventually kind of pays for itself. But puCK doesn't really care. He just, as I say, he built a Phoenix. Thanks, puCK. Still pretty late, though.
Ooh, so you burned down the Bailey Nest there.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Hydroden's still getting up here for Starkiller, and you might be thinking that Oracle's going to be the play again. And if puCK can just switch out of oracles here, it could potentially force like a lot of spore crawlers as an overreaction from starkiller, which will cut into his drone count and also cost money. So that would definitely be a big edge for puCK there. But starkiller just got one spore per mineral line, so reading this pretty correctly so far.
I would like to see an extra queen though, but I guess he's getting hydras now, so whichever one you want to go for. It doesn't feel like a very strong basis for what he could have, especially because starkiller saw the 3rd nexus, and I mean, he doesn't know for certain that that's a real nexus. You know, it could be old tricky dozen gateways in the main base type deal, but I feel like he could be able to tell that through various different methods, and he should be up to a higher drone count is where I'm trying to get to. This long-winded explanation is like 48 drones, 50 he was at just before this, is not a very good count, and we are not on the gold base, in which case I would have to correct myself, but we're not. So this is not a strong position to be in, even to go for a lane bane like Hydra bust, which usually is around 54, 55 drones, which was a super popular bust, even after they split the upgrades again. And that's probably what he's going for. I just don't know if it's going to get a lot of damage.
He's getting those immortals up as sort of like a regular Protoss opening, you know, get the double immortal production up to deal with the hydras, of which starkiller is making. He's just making units right now. He hasn't made drones in a while, so definitely not looking to play the later stages of the game. He's going to make a bunch of hydras, get a bunch of banelings out, which, I mean, maybe not any banelings because he's not getting baneling speed. So
yeah, I think you still usually get banelings with this. If you get the baneling nest, he makes a banelings. There are versions, I guess, where you don't get the baneling nest at all. But already losing 3 hydras, a couple of oracles, and still having enough oracles to cast Revelation. Not a strong start, and as I was saying, like his economy is also not convincing. He can't even afford to use all of its larva, which I don't know. I feel like this build is kind of down to a T when like Snoot was doing it every single game, for instance. So I feel like I'm in some authority to be a little critical, but regardless if it was perfectly executed or not, it looks like puCK had some idea, was on the way, and is looking pretty well defended.
And so far, so good. He's got that stay support at the front of that natural still alive. One of them has been popped by the links here. It's a nice catch there by starkiller. puCK still has a bit more energy on these oracles to start spreading out their stay supports a bit more. But there's nothing left in the natural anymore, so it's just going to be a hold with the sentries trying to do their best with these force fields. The force fields are okay, but there is still a little bit of a gap for the Berserk to start bleeding in these small units. The Hydra's doing a little bit of damage from the back line. And so far, starkiller not finding a big opening in the defenses here of puCK. His armor still holding strong.
Interestingly, puCK already on the Templar Archive did not start charge very quickly. Okay, now he finally starts it. So that is taking away some opportunities. When these Hydras get low, when the banelings disappear, that's when charge lots with their initial damage plus bridging the gap quickly really shine. That's a little worrying as we continue seeing pushes.
Ooh, that stasis forward actually going to catch a lot of Hydras here. That's a lovely catch there from puCK.
That is. It's really nice. Large chunk of DPS taken away from that. Besides the charge, puCK is on everything he should be. +1, 10 gateways, and you know, armor supply looking good. And he is trying to get to Storm, so once that's done, this is definitely over. That's a lot of banelings once again coming through. Well, or not.
These force fields from puCK, not too bad, but he's out of force field energy now. The sentry's out of juice, but looks like just enough to be able to push starkiller back for now. The army supply discrepancy is starting to get heavily in the puCK's favor, and he's a little bit far forward here. He's got to give up this area to the Zerg here. Sort of stepping back against these sentries. Those High Templar just waiting for their chance to storm. Storm done in about 10 seconds here. Starkiller's push is starting to look a little bit flaccid at the moment as puCK manages to get what he needs.
That is a lot of High Templars. I was wondering why I wasn't warping any more sentries, and it's because every single gas bit went into that. Maybe one of them would have an Archon, which he now is starting to make. There we go. That makes your army a bit beefy, a bit easier to handle once you run out of force fields, as long as they're on the front lines. And it does provide some damage. There are the storms.
Yeah, these storms are a big problem here for starkiller, and he's going to eat a lot of that bad weather. The Baneling's connecting with some of those expensive gas units. Some High Templar getting a little too close to the fire, but there's just too much here from puCK. And he held very nicely.